Reading is dangerous. Books have a transformative power. They wash away ignorance and they instill a curiosity about our world and each other. I'd like to share with you today how reading books transformed my life and how that led me to open an independent bookstore here in our neighborhood. I grew up in a small town not far from here. Growing up, I was very involved with my church. I deeply believed that my faith held all the answers. So I read my Bible daily, I prayed daily. I even started a Bible study at my public high school. I had a very narrow view of the world and a very simple understanding of the universe. I thought God created it 4,000 years ago, and that was that. But then I got a job at a bookstore, I started to read dangerously, and that's when everything changed. Reading not only changed my life, but saved it. The right books, picked at the right times, especially the ones that scare us, threaten to undermine all we've been told, the ones that contain forbidden thoughts. These are the books that become Eve's apples. An awakening towards consciousness is identical with the creation of the world. Eve's apples, for me, were the new atheists. At the bookstore, I discovered titles like The God Delusion, God is Not Great, The End of Faith. I was seduced by the irreverence of those titles. I read those books, and I found the confidence of the authors stunning. In those books, I found strong arguments to rethink what I thought that I knew to be true. I began the process of losing my faith, the foundation of my life. But I was reading voraciously, and I was discovering a new life, an awakening towards consciousness that created a completely new world for me. I felt alone during this time, and I struggled with depression. But I found in books I was never alone. I had direct access to countless great minds, access to someone else's life and imagination. And I used what I read in books to build a new, open, and curious life for myself. So after reading all those confident men, I actively sought out female writers. I discovered authors like Kathy Acker, the experimental feminist author, to Rebecca Solnit, the woman who coined the term mansplaining, and whose books cross every genre boundary, and whose deep intelligence and huge heart inspire me every day, to the Pulitzer Prize-winning poetry of Anne Sexton, who's buried here in Forest Hills at the cemetery in JamaicaPlain, and so many more. So I opened a bookstore here because I believe in that transformative power of books, because I experienced it myself. I believe life is very difficult, but I believe books contain the knowledge to help guide us. And I do think we're still confusing information with knowledge. The internet is full of information, everything at our fingertips. Why read? Because reading is knowledge, and knowledge is power. Reading gives us the context to understand this complicated world that we live in, that can't be easily understood in 140 characters or in an article that's hastily written to meet a deadline. Reading allows us to understand the complexities of human emotion. Studies have actually shown that reading literary fiction increases empathy in the reader, and we know how important empathy is, according to Chuck's talk. I opened a bookstore here because I believe we must have physical spaces to engage with one another, to talk about ideas, and to be surrounded by an abundance of inspiration. We must have physical spaces of discovery. We must be able to choose for ourselves what it is we want to read next, and not allow algorithms and corporations tell us what we should read based on our internet browsing history or previous purchases. We must read out of our comfort zones. We must challenge ourselves to learn about things that might be hard to accept, and it might be easier to ignore. We must read to ground us, to guide us, and to inspire us. Azar Nafisi, the best-selling author of Reading Lolita in Tehran, was recently speaking about the importance of reading for a democracy. When she came to America from Iran, she'd come from a place where to read or to write was truly dangerous, where you could be tortured, you could be thrown in jail, and sometimes even executed for what you read or what you wrote. She came to America and she saw the very ideas people giving their lives for being denigrated or called irrelevant. We have the freedom to read, and we must take advantage of that. Just picture a country where everyone reads and everyone votes. Go ahead, it starts with each of us. Read dangerously. Thank you.